Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 75 of the EE PowerTalk. My name is Elvis, and today we have a special guest. Her name is Marcella. I think it's better to allow her to introduce herself. Today we are talking about rethinking work. Karibu, Marcella.
Thank you so much, Elvis, for actually having me.
Yes.
So far, so good. You guys are doing an amazing job, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my name is Marcella, as you all know me. Marcella Antonina. I'm a founder of Strength Up Hub. Basically, what it involves is turning strengths into digital businesses, and my major focus is with people in corporate, because I understand how it feels every day to wake up and not want to go to that job because it's derailing you and you're not feeling really accomplished. So aside from that, I'm a sales expert, and really happy to be here today.
How long have you been in corporate, probably?
I'd say I have been the person who jumps from one corporate place to the next. So basically, I'd say about 4 years. But
4 years?
Yes, but I can say I've worked in 4 places. There's a 1 year, there is 2.5 years, and there's another one that was short, about 5 months. So I'd say 4 years.
Oh, 4 years.
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. You have a story to tell about corporate, eh?
Very many stories.
I think on TikTok, there's
There's a period.
there's a certain period that was there for you on TikTok.
Yes.
Where you're talking about work itself.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just say, some of it was about the toxicity that you find in the workplace.
Yeah.
And to put it bluntly,
Mm-hmm.
the current crisis that we have when it comes to employment,
Yeah.
where there's a certain demographic, or let me say there's a certain generation
Yeah.
that thinks work as an achievement.
Yeah.
And there are those people who will be like, there are things we don't tolerate.
Yeah.
So maybe can you give us a brief story,
Yeah.
touching here and there,
Mm-hmm.
for making sure that you're also safe,
Yeah.
about your experience?
Well, honestly speaking, my experience with corporates, funny enough, I always felt like every time I'm jumping from one job to the next, it's because I'm feeling like there's just something that is lacking. There's just a sort of dissatisfaction that is there that I can't be able to explain. And for me, it was always a need to just find a place where I can be able to find this satisfaction actually rising, but realizing that corporates are corporates. At the end of the day, it's all about getting to work at 8 to 5, having someone to dictate how exactly your work days are going to be like, whether or not you're going to go for that off, whether or not you are going to for that leave actually, because people think that you'll wake up and tell your boss I want to go for a leave today, and they're like, okay. It's a conversation you have to like, let's ask someone to give you time to at least have a balance. So for me, it was throughout realizing that there's this system that I can't escape as long as I want to live by the paycheck. Yes, and I feel like the culture itself is so derailing. It's so... Actually, you will not... There's a time you told me you're not letting your inner child live. And I believe that's what corporate does. It suppresses your inner child. The version of you who wants to, like, be creative, get out there and really do what your heart really wants to do.
And you know, like, I was listening to your story because I know your story firsthand.
Yeah.
And you shared an experience with me, and I was like, thank God I was never employed. Because, like, I'm trying to think of this.
Yeah.
And DB is behind today. He's behind the scenes. Eh?
Yes.
Bro, let me ask you a question, because we are still part of this conversation. Eh? Yeah. Do you ask anyone for an off?
No.
But now you can imagine if you're employed, you have to write a letter, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to tell HR, and they have to sit down, discuss it, and approve it.
Exactly.
But the good thing about what you do as a freelancer is that when you wake up tomorrow and say, today I don't think I'm going to be working, you can always check and probably even go on a road trip.
Absolutely.
So the corporate world, kind of, like, if you ask me, if you really questioned me, I think most people get into corporate because of status, number one.
That's true.
Number two is most people also think that working a job is the best thing that you can do for yourself.
Exactly.
I'll give you a scenario over here and you tell me whether it's right. An aunt of mine is in HR, and there are guys who retire, but after retiring, they're still coming to work. I was getting a story from my cousin.
And they're still being paid.
No, they're not being paid. But you see, the thing is, they've been conditioned to be what? To be workers.
Yeah.
There is nothing that, like, literally this person doesn't know what else they can do.
Yeah.
They don't know if they can get into business, they cannot do farming. So I'm trying to get this idea that from you, being employed was like making you not yeah, okay, I don't want to use this word, but just allow me to use it.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow you to think outside the box
Yeah.
and like do things that pertain to you.
Exactly.
Is that the same thing?
Yes. It actually felt like I was suppressing the far I could go as a person
Okay.
with whatever I knew I could do best.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in this space where you're told, you know what, your work is maybe sales, your work is maybe doing tenders, your work is maybe analyzing something in the lab. Like every other thing that you know you're really good at, you will have to suppress it. And at first I actually told myself, especially when I joined your challenge, 5 a.m. challenge, that I could double up. But let's just be honest, because I have been there, it's really hard to double up because you're in this space where everyone is milking you of every inch of energy that you have. And there's nothing we can do about that because you're afraid if you don't wake up tomorrow, you won't be able to pay your bills. So people are in this cycle. You want to come out. You want a space to just, or someone to just hold you, but you don't have that.
Do you regret making that decision to leave?
I do not regret it. I won't lie to you. It's scary because, as you said, like your aunt who was conditioned to the aspect of going to work.
No, she's a
worker.
HR. So I was getting the story from my cousin.
Okay.
Who's telling me that
Yeah.
she still has to tell guys who have retired,
Yeah.
musikuje kazi.
Oh, now she's the one who's telling them not to come.
Now, this person
Yeah.
doesn't know anything else outside
need to work.
work.
Yeah.
So now they've been told to retire.
Yeah.
To go where now?
They don't know.
They have nothing that they do.
Exactly.
So that was the thing anyway. So
Yeah.
you don't regret that decision?
I do not regret it. I won't lie. It's the scariest move I feel like I've made in my life because for the first time I'm trying to challenge the system. For the first time I'm telling myself, I know it's hard. I know like it's kind of, I don't understand how exactly to move around, but I'm just telling myself if people started confused, because I believe you also, when you were starting out, you're a bit confused because you didn't know, everyone else was going for a job, everyone else was getting a job, but you're here and you were thinking, okay, I don't have this job, but I don't have to have this job to be able to survive. The aspect of you believed in your vision enough to sideline what the society said. It's the hardest thing to actually do. I do not regret it, but I won't lie, it's really hard when you challenge the system because you're conditioned already to work by it, to believe that I have to go to an 8 to 5 to pay my bills. And if I don't do that, then what else am I supposed to do? You're conditioned not to understand how to sell yourself because you're used to selling a company. So that's something that is so inbuilt, it gets deep into your skin, into your blood. To really let go of that has been hard, but I personally don't regret it.
I think listening to your perspective, you've been conditioned to sell a company, not to sell yourself.
Exactly.
And when you're trying to sell yourself, the company tries to tell you to stop.
Exactly.
That has happened for you?
That has definitely happened. Yes, I personally, when I started to do my personal branding, it actually happened to me. And it's something that I actually put on a post immediately when I decided that 8 to 5 for me is not working out. And I think most people could relate to that fact, that personal branding is one of the things that actually scares your employers. Your employer will literally be asking around the office, what are you doing? And it's very basic. I'm a person. I also, at the end of the day, I'm not the company's name. At the end of the day, I have my names, I have my gifts, I have whatever it is that makes me who I am. But the corporate system suppresses that aspect of its employees.
It's
that
life
I believe
beyond the job.
Exactly. So, and if they see you're trying to actually make a brand out of the 8 to 5 system, then it's an issue. They want to really suppress that aspect and give you an ultimatum that either you quit or you stop this thing you're doing, or, you know.
There's a generational understanding of work. There is the boomers. There is the millennials. I think if there is something. Is there Gen X? Gen X are the boomers?
No.
Those are two different generations.
Gen X ni kina nani? Do they exist, ama?
They have our parents now.
Oh, they are our parents. Yeah. Oh, so my mother is a Gen X. Yeah. Okay. There's a whole difference between boomers, Gen X, millennials, and now Gen Zs.
Yeah.
Like, let me read something for you over here.
Yeah.
Older generations valued loyalty to companies and stayed there for decades.
Exactly.
Now, younger professionals now ask, if companies can fire employees at any time, why should I be loyal?
That's true. That's actually the mindset shift that is actually happening right now.
With so many young people, they're like...
Yes. And I've felt that, like... And actually, before really getting to have my parents accept that I do not want to be employed, it really, like, they really tried to put me on that conversation of like, we're not really understanding, because our parents, as you said, were hooked to being loyal
Loyal
more.
to companies and businesses.
Yes, as opposed to like trying to do your own thing. But to be honest, it got to a point where my parents were now honest with me and were like, yeah, by the way, you make a lot of sense. I wish I did this as a child. I always felt like I really wanted to do this, but I was conditioned to a system. And so I didn't really do what I believe I really wanted to do with my life. Like, essentially, they're not saying that they've wasted it, but there's a point of their lives that has completely been taken away out of being in an 8 to 5 system and being enslaved in a system that really demands loyalty to the point of Monday to Saturdays, that you don't have any other thing. Or if you have another thing, yes, you probably, it does not really resonate with who you really are as a person. Yes, so I definitely believe that our parents are really conditioned to that, and I can attest to the fact that so many of them are very honest about it draining some part of them.
I think most people, most of our parents have been conditioned to think that you get a job for security in future.
Yeah.
And it's a wrong perspective, because according to me, you realize, like, I was giving this, I don't remember who was telling, but someone was earning 80,000 Kenya shillings in 2018.
Yeah.
The same person is earning the same amount of money today.
Yeah.
Back then, it was a lot of money. Today, it is not.
Definitely.
And you see, I think when companies tell you to be loyal to them, they will not add a salary to you. They will not add you a salary.
Yes, they won't.
I've heard of people, by the way, what is overtime? What is overtime?
Overtime is like money they have to pay you because you have extended for example, you have to come to work 8 to 5, but now you've extended. You're now working maybe 4 hours more because maybe something has to go out of the office that day. There's a deadline probably. So overtime is the money they have to pay me because I have worked extra. But most companies do not do that.
They do not do that. In fact, in Kenya, I don't think they do that.
Definitely, only a few.
Someone is going to even call you on Friday at 10 p.m. for you to do something.
Yes.
I've never understood why that is the case. One of the things I hated employment is the tension someone gets waiting for your salary. Date 5, uko like, wameingiza. Like, you will not be working, you'll just be waiting for that.
That's
and I was
true.
like, no, I don't want this kind of pressure.
Yeah.
There's also like, these companies will demand loyalty, but they don't have anything to help you with your mental health.
Yeah.
I've literally heard of guys who've gone to buildings and killed themselves.
Because of work.
Because of work.
Yeah.
Because most of these companies, let me say, they lack the understanding that you're dealing with human beings, not robots.
Yeah.
So these people need mental health support.
Yeah.
You need to be talking to them on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Did you used to get that when you were in corporate?
I have never met that. I hear of friends who have that in some corporate spaces that they are in. But at the end of the day, there's always something affecting them. The people who have been honest and said there are such spaces also are people who call me to be like, I just had a toxic day. This just happened. So as much as, yes, there might be that space, there's still that the aspect of toxicity within sometimes. That regardless, because I'm imagining you're giving me a mental health session, but again, at the back of my mind, I know you're going to probably, yes, you're giving me the session, but there's just something again you're doing that is really derailing my mental health. Maybe it's work related and I can't do anything about that. Yeah.
Old school bosses believe that you should work harder.
Yeah.
And new generation workers believe that you can work smarter, not harder. So if you can take 4 hours to accomplish work here 1 week, then do it.
Definitely.
And this is the reason as to why there are people who think, like, there are people who are conditioned to believe that you have to work. So by working, you're busy on a desk, doing things that just to make sure. I think for me, some corporates or some employers, they like to see you on your desk. And you are telling me that there are guys who go to their desks and watch Netflix. But as long as you're on your desk and you're working, and then there comes this Gen Z who is like, so you want me to do this in 1 whole week, and I can do it within 1 or even 2 hours or 3 hours. So do you believe in working smarter or working harder?
I believe in working smarter because I was in that space to know. For example, like, it'll get to probably in fact, you'd find yourself very productive maybe on Monday because you've rested, and maybe Tuesday, or maybe even Monday you're productive, on Tuesday your head is just not in it, and you're sitting on that desk. You very well know you're not doing anything, and it's not like you don't want. Your head has just shut down, but you can't walk out. Sometimes I'd walk, go around like where the place was. Like I just go around just to take a walk, to just feel, will this productivity come? But honestly speaking, I wished every single day that I could work at my own terms. Like tell my employer, you know what, I'm not productive today, or give me a leeway such that I can be able to, work. Let me just give you results. You don't care what I'm going to do with my time. I'll give you results. I'll give you what you want. I'll accomplish my KPIs. But at the end of the day, don't really go down to how I'm using my time, because let's be honest, you cannot be productive for all those 8 hours.
Do you think an institutionalized mindset has really led to very poor and, let me say, worse corporate culture, because people think that you need to work. They don't care about productivity.
Yeah.
I think most of these companies value you being busy.
Yeah. Actually, my dad actually told me recently that that thing came from, I think the system of 8 to 5 is if I'm not wrong, something 1800 system that the whites came up with. Because of course, most of the people were slaves, and you had to milk every ounce of energy from them. So that was the reason why there's the 8 to 5 system, because like they had to work like that because it was those times. So imagine till today, we are having the same mindset. We are building institutions with the same mindset.
Do you think someone can work for 9 hours continuously? Because
No.
I've tried to. Mengos, can you work for 9 hours mfululizo? 9 hours, bro, edit videos. In fact, even editing a 1 hour video, she can take you less than 2 hours. Do you think, like for me, I tend to think that there is a threshold that your brain will be like, me past that, this is overdrive.
Yeah.
How is it that you are doing 9 hours a day?
You just wake up, you're working.
And it's something you don't even like, probably, Emma.
Yeah, sometimes you don't even like what you're doing. You're just doing it because you have to pay bills. So that's another thing added to that. You're not satisfied with it. But now, at the end of the day, what's pushing is because you remember at the end of the month, you have to pay this rent. You just have to push through, because now, where are you going to get the money? So, like, you sit on that desk and you very well know in your head that you're not really productive. Sometimes, in fact, you'd find you're in an organization, like, let me be honest with my situation. Sometimes maybe there's extra work and there's more work. And you'd find yourself even past 8 or 9 in that office. And maybe you can't leave because apparently there has to be some form of teamwork. But again, maybe you're not the one handling that, but you have to show some form of teamwork. So I'm like thinking to myself, oh my God, I have wasted 4 hours doing a whole lot of nothing. If I leave, I'm scared because what will my employer say? Because system has said, loyalty means you follow what the boss has said. How do you leave the office and maybe, let's say the boss will even leave at 8, but that's a boss. Now, how do you walk out of the office and leave your boss there? So you find yourself wasting so much time, and you very well know you're not even productive in the extra hours. And you know very well that if you used those hours to do something else, things would have probably changed. So system just...
As a young person, I think probably one of the things that you're looking for is work-life balance.
Definitely.
You just don't want to be in an office 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Doing a whole load of, let me say, nothing, and still leave.
Yeah.
And probably when you're in the house, these guys are still calling you.
Yeah.
You want to be like, I'm done with work.
Yeah.
Please.
Leave me alone.
If there is something you want, like, dealing with Gen Zs, that they will put it to, like, people hate working with Gen Zs.
Yeah.
And the reason people hate working with Gen Zs or younger people is that we're called, quote unquote, we are, what's the name? Rude? What's the name? When a Gen Z knows their rights, we are entitled. You get me?
Yeah.
Because, like, a brief example is, you've given me a task. I'm supposed to be done with this particular task by 10.
Yeah.
I also realize I don't have to be in the office to do that. So the guy's going to tell you, see, just allow me to work from home.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no, you have to come to the office. This guy is like telling you, no, me, I've already done the job. See, it's done. And you see, I think it's time for, I don't know how you think about this, but do you think most corporates are just busy but not productive?
Definitely. And that's what they really want to keep pushing on to the employees and the new people. Like, as long as you just come to the office, like, I'll give you a very good example. I'm not saying that I was a bad timekeeper, but I'd say, like, you'd find someone comes way early, but, like, you find the amount of work that really is productive. And productive, I mean, like, probably brings in some form of income to the company, or maybe makes a real huge change, is limited. So you see, I've come early, yes. I've shown you I've come early because that's what you want to see. But at the end of the day, I'm not really bringing in so much value to your business, because we are not aligning productivity and work that is really spearheading an organization to the next level. We are not prioritizing that. We are just prioritizing people coming to work. Just coming to work, because at the end of the day, you know you're paying them. And I think it's very, forgive me, but let me say selfish of an organization, because yes, you've paid this employee, and maybe that's why you want to, milk them to the core. But honestly speaking, that's the reason why they'd want you to come sit there 8 to 5, because they know they've paid you. The money they're paying you is more important than the time you're wasting. You probably not even being productive sometime.
So we have paid you, have to work.
Yeah, we have paid you, so work.
It's not about results. It's about you working. Sadly, yes. And sometimes, like, maybe let me give you a scenario over here. I was in attachment, and I never liked that attachment. I still tell people till today. Yeah. Because I can remember the only time I probably was doing something meaningful was photocopying papers. Yeah. Yeah. Probably most of the time we used to be in the store watching movies and watching series. Yeah. Do you think that we have a load of buildings meant for companies, but in those buildings people are just loitering?
I totally agree with you.
Do you have like a scenario of someone who kazi yake tu ni kukuja kuloita, but at the end of the month they have a salary?
I think yes. There's a corporate space that I worked in, and I knew about employees who will just, like, when we look at what exactly they're bringing into the company, it's very minute. But why they're being paid is because they are the bosses, pets, best friends. Like, that's a person who will go tell the boss, you know what, these people here in the lab are doing this, and they're not supposed to be doing that. Oh, this section, and that's why they're getting to be paid. But in real sense, like, that guy, used to find him just walking around. Just walking around, like, just nothing really meaningful.
It's an interesting one. Quiet quitting. Yeah? Yeah. Like, when now you're not completely happy with the job, you're like, yeah, nyinyi mutajua. We were giving the scenario of a supermarket attendant. Yeah. Who was ati unasema kona deficit ya 120,000. But they are forced to work every day. Correct. So instead of working, they are doing all they can to get fired. Yeah. They are rude to clients. Yeah. They just want to be told, you're fired. Yeah. How is your experience with quiet quitting? Because I tend to think you also probably got to that point.
Well, in my own experience, I'd say quiet quitting is like an employee has really tried to, aside from the story of the accountant, of the cashier who needs to pay that amount, I'm imagining just the cashier herself just feeling like going an extra mile has not really served her right. So for me, quiet quitting happens when you have really given to this company or to this organization, but you're not seeing the returns in real sense. So it's you feeling like, you know what, I'm done giving extra and I'm not really getting any back. So I always feel like it's something that we can avoid by setting boundaries, because if you set your boundary right, like when you come to the office, you're like, me, I'm that person who 8 to 5, by 5, I'm off that office, I'm home, bye. Don't call me, because there's a way you can set that boundary. Even your bosses see from the word go, this one is not the one who, we can't really, But now you can come in and be like, oh yes, I'll do everything. Boss says this, you're like, yes, it's okay. Even when it's past your time, you're still there working. And quiet quitting happens now when now you're tired of giving that energy, because you're not getting the results, you're not getting the promotions, you're not just getting the returns. So you basically are tired of giving too much. And the problem is that now the organization has already felt like entitled to your time. So because they are used to you being able to come and do that overtime and without being paid. But essentially, I'd say quitting is something that happens, but can be prevented if we set boundaries right. And I am an example of, I've not been good in my previous employments in terms of setting boundaries. And after you're finding yourself now, you're not getting any returns from going the extra mile anyway, and you now want to focus on yourself and your things and your extra time that you can use to do something. Now, people are already entitled to your time. So they start saying, okay, she's not really delivering as she used to. But at the end of the day, you forget that my time is just 8 to 5. I was just giving extra just because I felt, the need to just go the extra mile. But now I don't feel it anymore. And I am entitled to my time, so you don't have to. So the problem comes in with there. Your boss will call you and be like, oh, these days, oh, you don't come like this, oh, you don't.
And by the way, have you ever realized that most of these bosses don't want to understand the problem you have? They want to be like rude or something like, na ufanyi kazi siku hizi.
Yeah.
They think like shouting at someone like that.
Yeah.
I like how probably being a young person.
Yeah.
Me will not shout at me. Hey boss, kwani unadhania you're the only person here? Like, I think boundaries. You see, when a young person has boundaries,
yeah,
inaitangwa kiburi.
That's true. Very true.
Because most people, like, it's the same way. Like, for example, the high school teacher you had were mathematics.
Yeah.
You might probably be doing even better than them.
Yeah.
But since, like, sometimes I like to question these things because you find that some of the teachers that taught us,
yeah,
and they told us, just finish, you will get a job. These guys were fired from these schools they were teaching, and they never got a job anywhere else. So what does that mean? They were preparing us wrongly.
Yeah.
And I tend to think that all this starts from the education system,
yeah,
and even say the system that has already been created where people are like brainwashed. I remember my first job.
Yeah.
My first job
yeah,
was a job I liked.
yeah,
Funny for me, the things I used to do, it was a storekeeper.
yeah,
But the good thing in that store where I was employed,
yeah,
I was given a laptop.
yeah,
And I remember, like, as long as I've done my job,
yeah,
I remember the lady who employed me just didn't have a problem.
yeah,
You're done with your job? Cool. So I used to find that probably I've even spent like Gioni a few hours more to finish up on everything I'm supposed to do tomorrow, so that I can spend more time on the laptop.
yeah,
My second employment was in graphic design.
yeah,
But the third one was an attachment.
yeah,
I was talking about caring.
yeah,
And I think you were saying something about people having things they want to do, their inner children. Like there's that thing that you're really passionate about.
yeah,
But since you've been intoxicated into selling a company, which is not yours,
exactly.
that is one thing.
Yeah,
You don't own it, you don't have any shares,
yeah,
you're just in it.
yeah,
Probably, I think I'll put it and say that people are in workplaces they don't like, but you're so afraid of leaving,
yeah,
because you're not very sure whether you're going to be eating tomorrow.
that's true.
But the question is, what if you get fired? You saw the condition, what happened during COVID.
Yes.
I think facing the problem beforehand,
Yeah.
like, I like how as a young person you might be thinking, so this is how you're paying me. Yeah, you're paying me 50,000, and when I ask for an increment, you don't want to give me an increment.
Yeah.
Now one day, you guys can fire me one day, so let me just walk away and face my problems head on.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about quiet quitting.
Yeah.
And how does it feel like when, for example, like you're going to an office, you don't like that place, and probably
Yeah.
you don't like the people there,
Yeah.
you don't even like the boss,
Yeah.
you don't like the environment.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think, me mwenyewe I can't handle. How does it feel? How does it feel? Because I think you feel like burning inside.
Yes, it's like the worst feeling, especially on Sunday nights, because Monday, it's the worst. Sunday needs to be the day you're happy because you're at home, but you're just dreading, like, let it not end, let it not end, let it not end, because now you can't imagine waking up, showering, wearing, and then going, and then you just don't feel like you're really in the right place. You're not even happy about whatever work you're doing. You're just doing it for the money. You're just doing it because you have to pay the bills. It is honestly the worst feeling. I feel like mental health issues, personally, when it came to me, were really more of work-related mental health issues.
Mhm.
Because that thing is very, like, imagine you Monday to Friday, you just trying to hold on there.
Can you call that place a toxic workplace?
I would say it has some form of toxicity, because why would I feel that feeling? Why would I essentially feel that?
And I actually even came to realize it's not even about the buildings
Yeah.
or the place.
Yeah.
It's the people.
Yeah. It's that energy that you'll get. It's, as you said, maybe your boss is going to shout at you, or shouted at you, like, without having to call you privately and be like, okay, you did this wrong, and I think we can rectify this. And I believe leaders have a really huge critical role in that. Because I'll dread a place because the culture there is just not really interesting. And I will not feel toxic if a culture is very supportive. If the people there are very, people are just minding their own business. But I'll feel the toxicity because I know tomorrow and I have to deal with this.
Yeah.
I have to deal now.
You have to deal with Jemima. They always have those names, Jemima, Bartholomew. All those names that you will never hear a good name like Brian. Brian is like calm. They always have Jeremiah,
Yeah.
Johnstone, Joffrey. Like I came to have you ever realized there's a time I was happy when there's a certain guy I used to hate.
Yeah.
And I heard he was fired and I was like, yes.
Because you're like, hey, freedom.
And then these guys bring another one like that one. So we were talking about toxic workplaces and how some of these environments, like these guys fire someone.
Yeah.
And I don't know why people think that if you bring a military style kind of a leader, that people will perform.
It doesn't happen.
Have you ever seen, by the way, I don't even think, have you ever seen a boss, anakuanga amekaza sura? Have you worked in an environment like that? Where boss, you don't even want to meet the guy, like, akikusalimia kwanza na wanakuwa wanono first of all, like, they're big, like, and they always have this serious face.
Yeah.
I think most people think that being a boss means that you look like that.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if I found you looking like that, like even when I'm dealing with clients,
Yeah.
unanikazia sura hivyo, I cannot deal with you. You cannot deal with such a person because these are people who, first of all, they have a lot of expectations about you, but they don't want to do anything to help you towards getting to that.
Exactly.
You get?
Yeah.
There are those people, like, I realized there are some bosses who are employed to rant, to insult people, to issue commands, and just to be there and exist.
That's true.
And sit in an office.
Yeah.
While other people do everything. Now, when there is a problem, they are so fast to shout. But when you do good, they will not even be there to tell you that you've done good.
That's true.
Like I'm trying to imagine spaces. I think mental health begins with how you treat your employees, how people in managerial positions actually treat the people there. Yeah. Like I like listening to a guy called Simon Sinek. Majority of organizations fail because of the leadership style they have. Yeah. Leadership, something as simple. Like, for example, let me give you this example. Yeah. I'm trying to assume if your boss was to call you, like, for example, and not for a job, but to tell you, I just wanted to check up on you. Are you doing okay? Are you okay? Is everything okay?
Want to come to work.
You'd want to come back to work. But now you can imagine one is calling you and then he's insulting you. And that's why I think before you become a leader, I think you need to have, first of all, emotional intelligence. That's true. Empathy. You just understand that you're dealing with people. Yeah. Like someone tells you, I'm really sorry, but I'm not feeling well today. Kwa nini hukuji kazi? Kwani unafikiria pesa inatoka mbinguni? Some of them will even be rude like that. Yeah. What is the problem? Is there any way we can help? But ukiona mtu amezoea, like when someone is busy doing sick leave, now there you can question. That's true. But I think, yes, treat your employees right. That's true. Because they're the ones who are dealing with your customers. People will be demotivated. They're not even interested in dealing with with your employees with your customers. Yeah. Like toxic workplaces. Let me talk about how the hustle culture feels like burnout. Yeah. And I'll give you some signs of a toxic work culture. Yeah. Where overworking is celebrated. Yeah. Ule mtu mwenye anatoka kwa ofisi saa 6
10 p.m.
Then did you experience guilt tripping when you take breaks?
Yes. In fact, mine was more of if I don't do the overtime. So if I decide today, I have something I'm working on, and I have done my time.
Mm.
Bye-bye, guys. Me, I'm gone. So, of course, the next day you'll hear, oh, you know, we stayed here till because you didn't, like, there's always that. There was always that. And the feeling of if you go and leave them there, then maybe there's something that you could help them with. Yet, if you stay there, there's nothing that you can help with. And you'll see that because you'll stay there and people just want you to get into this culture because it's a culture. But in real sense, there is nothing really you're doing there.
So you want to
Probably.
you also want to mention that we have toxic employees.
Definitely. And also the employees who are supporting that culture. Let me be honest. Employees can also play a role in how exactly we will be able to shape this thing. Because if you probably come out and say, you know what, by the way, you guys, we are paid 8 to 5. Why don't we share work and then probably let's be done with this work by this time, then we go home. If we do it as a group, it makes sense. But you'll find one employee wants to probably show the boss, yeah, I'm the person who goes the extra mile because at the end of the day, I want a promotion, I want a salary raise, I want to be given benefits that other people don't get. So it's that aspect of being a man-eating corporate space rather than being more of communal. It's very capitalistic such that at the end of the day, I'm doing this extra because I want the boss to acknowledge me.
Have you dealt with snitches as employees? Those ones who go behind to tell the boss what is happening.
There are those who go behind the boss to actually tell stuff about you. So it's not something that I have not come across. It's something that has been done to me. And I have been told. So definitely.
Like someone, mtu anapeleka anaenda kushenyenta to the boss.
Yes.
Yeah?
Definitely.
How does that feel? Like, I'm trying to imagine ati umeenda ukakutana na mtu. This person was talking about you in a certain way to a boss.
Yeah.
How does it feel to deal with such a person on a daily basis?
It's actually the worst. And the worst part is that for me, how I had to deal with it is that at the end of the day, I have to realize that I'm here because I want to pay my bills. So I have to just, nivumilie tu. Because what can I do? Yeah, I have to be the bigger person. Because at the end of the day, I'm feeling like if I don't stomach this, then I won't be able to. And then at the back of my head, maybe I have a goal. I'm like, let me just finish 1 year, then we'll see how it goes. So that's what is keeping me going. That's what is making me face this person. Because at the end of the day, you'll have to work with that person. You will have to, at some point, negotiate. Like, your work sort of is intertwined at some point. So you'll not avoid them completely. So it's the feeling of you looking at this person, you're like, what? And maybe I can't say friends, but they're people who you a bit, everything was okay.
Mimi nitasema tu kama star. Mimi nitakuvaa. I don't care about that job, but mtu nitakulima bana.
What's wrong with you?
Like, what the hell? But very honestly, me, I have friends who've beaten their bosses.
What?
I'm not saying that you beat your boss, but there's a point you're like, mtu wangu, umezidi sasa.
This is too much.
Like, okay, this guy was slapped by the boss.
Yeah.
Slapped? Yeah. He was slapped. You see, when someone, like, there's also the aspect of casual employees. These guys, you pay 10K.
Yeah.
So, like, ni ile tu mtu anakudharau to an extent that they can slap you. What happened later was a police case. Yeah, because you see, now it's gotten to a point, and the guy had to be released because the instigator was the boss.
Yeah.
They also, like, for me, if you really got to ask me, I think the reason as to why we have toxic workplaces starts with the management.
Yeah.
With how the management behaves.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, for me, I don't even like dealing. Like, even when you're dealing with clients in future, don't deal with toxic clients. And you can easily get to know someone toxic.
Yeah.
How they make calls, how they text you. I'm sorry to even say this.
Yeah.
But even how they look like. Kuna watu tu, sura tu inamuuza tu. Like, umekuwa mbaya.
Yeah.
By the way, your spirit never, like, it
never hides.
I think you'll deal with someone and immediately you're like, hey, brother. But most people, because of the want and the need to have a job, you take in any kind of person.
That's true.
Have you ever met a person, like, you've gone to an interview and, for example, probably you're the one who's the best. And then you meet the boss.
Yeah.
And automatically your spirit completely hates that guy. You can believe me that your spirit is not wrong. Is not wrong.
That's true.
And I think talking about how management fuels this toxic workplace environment
Yeah,
is because it begins with the top level management,
definitely.
directors. Kwanza hao ndio wanakuanga ugonjwa yote mingi kabisa.
That's true.
Like if you wanted to restructure an entire company, restructure the entire management.
Totally.
When you restructure, most of these guys think that the employees are not performing, so they fire them.
Yeah,
If you ask me, fire them from the top.
exactly. I think that's a valid point.
Like for me, go get the HR. Nini anafanya? Fire them. You might realize that you fire one person,
Yeah,
and immediately everyone is like, you fire a CEO, and then everyone is like performing. So
That's
who was
true.
the problem?
the CEO.
But now most companies, they get to drain because they have bad people in management
Yeah,
who now bring in instruction to the lower management.
yeah,
Hawa venye wanaongeleshwa na CEO wanasema, nakwambia wewe hata nyinyi mtajua. Same case with banks.
Yeah,
With banks and like these top level employers,
yeah,
you find that they put this massive pressure
yeah.
on their employees. The moment you start putting pressure into employees, they'll start just doing the work.
Yeah.
They don't care about your KPIs, they don't care about what, they're just doing the work for the salary. That's why you find a lot of people busy but not productive.
That's true.
And then when someone is fired, they're like, yes, thank you. I've even seen people who've started preparing to leave a company prior. Immediately someone is ameanza kurevamp LinkedIn yake. Someone has already started having their own website.
Yeah.
They're taking evening classes.
What?
Now these guys in the company, they think this person is doing that for them.
Yeah.
One day brings a resignation letter. And I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the way to go.
Yeah.
If you're not content with where you're working, just pack and leave. No one is supposed to ask you a question.
That's true.
If you're confident, if you have like an emergency fund, you're like 6 months.
Yeah.
Chomoka.
That's
Come and
true.
start planning your things.
That's true.
What do you think companies should do to actually promote a good working environment and a healthy working environment?
I feel like companies have to get to a point where they realize that employees are human beings just like them. Because I think that's what leaders forget. That put yourself in that shoe of that employee. Whoever you are, put yourself in that shoe. Because you'll realize that this is a human being. It's not just about numbers. It's not about profits. It's all about this is a human being. And as you said, it all begins from them. The energy they carry, how they approach the employees, what sort of system they are really pushing forward in regards to their employees and everything. So personally, I feel like many organizations are not really focused on promoting and giving leadership to the right people. In terms of, yes, I might be good at, maybe I've brought in profits, but who told you I can be a good leader? Just because I brought profits? Because that's essentially what corporates do. So and so is really bringing in a lot of profits, and that's why we need to consider them for a top managerial position. But you don't realize the fact that, yes, they're bringing in the money does not mean that they can be good at managerial jobs and leadership roles. Because once they get there, their mindset is still maybe of the job they had. And maybe they're still doing the job they had because maybe you've promoted them and given them this managerial position, but at the same time, they're holding another position of what they used to do. So at the end of the day, this is not someone who's looking to me and wants to lead me. This is also like another employee, my fellow colleague, who we are also probably, if in sales, still going at the same thing. We are in the market together as well.
Yeah.
So it's no longer about this person trying to mentor me, but it's about this person also feeling like I'm sort of a threat. Or the fact of the matter is, as long as they are still within and they're still at a managerial position, then that's not going to be healthy at all. Because at the end of the day, they're still also trying to prove that they're better off. So it's no longer about like leadership and everything. Because people are giving roles to people who do not understand what leadership is. Their heart is not even there. They're just there just because you felt like, yes, they're bringing in profits. But we really need to analyze how exactly we give leadership roles and what exactly really spearheads productivity when a leader comes in. Because at the end of the day, employees, it's not like people don't want to work. It's not like people, if someone is really employed in a certain area and they know very well that's something that they love. Let me not speak about someone who's been employed in an area where they know they don't feel the psyched to come to work because maybe it's not something they really like. But if someone has been employed to some place where they know very well, this is what I'm comfortable doing this work. The only reason as to why they'll walk out of that door is because probably you are not mentoring them and leading them in the right way possible. You are not giving an environment that makes them thrive and really makes them feel like, yes, I want to wake up and come to work tomorrow. It's all about, people are now moving to a spot where they are realizing it's the environment. In fact, as you say, the younger generation, it's not like we don't want to work. We just have gotten to a point where we value our environment, our mental health space. We cannot be staying in spaces. Every single day you want to commit suicide. The next day, I'm in depression. Like, what are we doing? At the end of the day, it's all about the environment. And if leaders do not understand that aspect, how the environment is really trickling down, how the energy that they're bringing in every single day is trickling down to people, then we're not moving. Because people are woke now. People understand, like, you will not drain me, I will not die because of you at the end of the day. And if I'm not getting that mental environment that really puts me in a situation where I really want to come every single day, then I'd rather quit or maybe look for a way out. But I'm not taking this anymore.
If you are a leader, what would you do differently?
I would
especially in areas on mental health.
I would actually foster an environment where people feel comfortable to approach me. I will not, as much as, yes, I'm a leader, I should have the respect. I believe respect is earned. I will not, there's a way a leader can make you feel like you're below. And so you do not want to approach that leader anytime.
Sure. Because,
of course, they're above you. But for me, I'd say the approach will be to be a person they can really feel comfortable to come to. But at the same time, of course, I have set a way of respect such that they know they respect me, but they're feeling comfortable to speak out. I would be the person who probably would be comfortable hearing what the feedback is about, let's say, just anything. It's not about going to meetings and commanding and being like, you did this wrong, I don't want to know, I need to see results. No, it's okay. I've been, as you said, I've been like, you hear your boss calling you and is like, I've been noticing you a bit like this, what's happening? And not just doing it for the sake, but you really want me to, improve. So for me, I'd say the environment is something that I'd really work on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really amazing to actually get to know it, because most people don't get to foster that. How is your experience now that you're not in the corporate space? How is your mental health?
My mental health right now? Funny enough, after getting off corporate, I felt relieved for the first time in like, have you ever gone home and you're like, I'm so happy, like the first 1 week. Yes, you're like uncertain. Yes, there's so much that has happened. Yes, there's a transition. Yes, there is so much, but deep down, if you dig deep, there's some form of contentment in your heart, saying that yes, we know we don't know how we're going to pay the bills tomorrow, but at least you're at peace.
At least you are at peace and happy.
Exactly. The peace aspect for me was just something that I could not overlook. I felt a sort of joy, funny enough, and peace. And yes, it was not, there were storms, of course, because now you're transitioning. There's a different phase you have to approach. There's so much you don't know. There's so much you have to learn, but there's some form of peace.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've been doing some personal branding of late.
Yeah.
And you've started something. You're a founder.
Yeah.
Probably you can tell us what you specifically do.
Yeah. So basically, I came up with Strength Up Hub. It's something really close to my heart because of this same issue. I personally, when I first knew Elvis through your challenge, I really wanted a space where probably I could grow out from my 8 to 5. But I really did not have that platform of like having someone who tell you, you know what, don't worry, you can work things out like this. And so when I got off corporate, it's something that I felt really, really, it was close to my heart. I really wanted to have a platform where I give people in corporate an opportunity to be able to identify something that truly is within them. Like they really feel like, if I'm not doing this 8 to 5, this is it for me. But don't have the route, don't know where to start, don't have someone to tell them, you know what, this is what is working out. Don't have someone who has already researched on their behalf and get to turn it into a digital business, because now a digital business is something that you don't have to be there. I can be able to operate it while I still plan myself to get off from corporate. So that's basically what I came up with. I came up with a 30 days program to help people get to probably transition, not even necessarily just transitioning, because you might decide to keep your job and do it at the same time. You never know. But basically to build something off from their 8 to 5, because I feel and I know strongly people are hiding something. Every single one of us has something unique. And the problem is that the society has taught us yours is not worthy enough. Whatever you have is not, it cannot be, sold or anything. But for the first time, having internet here and having like the digital transformation happening right now, we get an opportunity to sell not just in Kenya, worldwide. So how will we there's no excuse that whatever you have is not something that anyone in the whole world that you will not fail to like want or need or something of the sort. So basically that's what I came up with. But at the same time, as I'm a sales expert, it's something that I did previously. So I wear those two hats. And yeah, on my TikTok platforms, I speak about the unspoken rules of the corporate to entrepreneurship transformation, what I have felt personally firsthand, and also the unspoken rules of sales. So yeah, basically that's
basically it.
Yeah.
And so the journey of content creation has really opened up like this new whole space for you.
Yeah.
And personally, I just want to wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Personally, I think this has been an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
For me, I think the problem really stems from the leadership.
Yeah.
From the top. It doesn't, not from the bottom.
Definitely.
There's no way a storekeeper is going to be the problem. It has to be someone at that probably top level. Unfortunately for me, I don't have any corporate experience.
Yeah.
But I learned from the stories that people actually give.
Yeah.
So probably maybe with this camera, you can tell us some final words on what you might call your parting shot, especially when it comes to the current work culture.
Okay. So my parting shot will be, let's remember that at the core of every human being, as much as they're employees, as much as they're that probably storekeeper, accountant, that's a human being. That's a human being with a family, with kids, with emotions, with gifts, with something unique in them. And suppressing it does not really make them focus on your job more often, as opposed to giving them an opportunity to grow in that which they feel they are very, comes naturally to them. So for me, it's just a wish that there's a time that will come where corporates will realize giving people a chance and an opportunity to grow, not just in their jobs, but also in something that they feel unique, and not suppress them because of that. That's the life that I wish I will see in the days to come. That's what I would love to see. Because then you have loyal employees, because they are content at the spot they are at. They are doing something that brings joy in them. Because the problem is not them coming to 8 to 5. The problem is there's something they're not accomplishing. There's just something that tells them this is not it. I'm not getting enough growth. And that's just it. So
you're saying people need to be, let me say, you need to be a person's people.
Exactly.
Or is it a people's person?
People's person.
Yeah? You need to be that person who people feel happy to work with, people feel excited to work with.
Exactly.
And ideally just be a good person.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Marcella.
Thank you so
much. It's been an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
We wish you all the best from the team.
Thank you so much.
We are hoping to have you even in future. Not only talking about corporate, but also talking about other issues.
Definitely.
As you can see, we have a lot of masculine energy.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Marcella.
I truly appreciate it too.
To each and every person who's listened to this, I hope you've learned something. And thank you for watching the EE PowerTalk. My name is Elvis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.